So, over the course of today, I went down one of those rabbit holes that you sometimes do, and I was thinking about what is my first memory of a science fiction show. You know, the sort of thing that actually kind of got you interested in science fiction when you were little. And one of the really early ones that I can remember the name of and have thusly found on YouTube is a thing called Jason of Star Command. There's also an earlier series called Space Academy. And I think Jason is actually a follow-up of Space Academy, but I remember his ship from Jason of Star Command really clearly in my head from when I was little as being, you know, sort of the starship that I first remember seeing on TV. Also, for me at that time, it was probably things like original Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that. But I think Jason of Star Command was also shown on S4C, which is a Welsh language channel that is still around today. But it was based from an English channel called Channel 4 here in the UK. And they were both sort of state-owned and state-operated to a degree at that point in time. But it was a very new channel back in, I haven't checked the date, but I would imagine sort of very early 80s. And I think that this is one of those shows that got on there, you know, very sort of early doors. So maybe that's why I remember it, I'm not sure. But I went to look for it on YouTube today, and there was a clip which I'll link to for you, which was kind of just the special effects shots from the series and the sound effects that accompany them. And they're really impressive for the... and it was sort of late 70s. But they were really, really good effects. It was really impressive stuff. And it hasn't been remastered or anything. So it's all sort of practical effects and, you know, cameras moving around the model and that sort of stuff. But it's really well done. So I think that must be why it left an impression on me. Because even now, they look, you know, they hold up pretty well, I think. But the one thing that made me smile, as is often the way with these little sort of rabbit hole adventures, is that whilst I was listening to that video, I thought, some of these sound effects seem really familiar to me. And in the back of my head, as I went, Space Sentinels. And Space Sentinels is a very old animated show, which I have a clip of on my channel. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder why, you know, maybe they just use sort of stock sound effects or whatever. Turns out, Jason of Star Command was a live-action Filmation show. Now, if you're not familiar, i.e. you're younger than I am, Filmation were the original producers of shows like He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, She-Ra. They also had Batman shows and Superman animated shows very, very early doors. And in fact, apparently, according to a documentary I've watched most of on YouTube as well this afternoon, they actually completely bluffed their way into getting the contracts for those shows, which is hilarious. So basically, they didn't even have their studio up and running, and they got some friends in to populate the studio, so that when the executives came around to have a look at it, the executives thought the company was up and running, and so they gave them the opportunity to do these early animated shows, and Filmation grew from just a handful of people then to sort of over a couple of hundred, possibly even way more than that actually. Until they finally sort of went out in the mid-80s. But they ran for a number of years between, I think the 70s. I'm just going to check my Wikipedia page that I've got up because I wanted to run you through some of these shows, which you may well remember. So they started as early as the 1960s and they went for 20-odd years, which is really impressive. And apparently they made all their shows completely in America, which was quite unusual. So they fought the tendency for the work to get outsourced, or you know, to sort of redub Japanese shows perhaps at the time. The other thing that really made me chuckle about it was that I'd forgotten that J. Michael Straczynski of Babylon 5, who obviously you will be very familiar with, probably generally, and from my channel and my Babylon 5 synopses and reactions here, he used to write for He-Man and She-Ra, and he had popped up on this documentary that I was randomly watching, having had a random thought again about Jason of Star Command. So it is, as they say, a small universe. So I just want you to do some of these because the earliest ones that they did were things like New Adventures of Superman, Adventures of Superboy, Superman Aquaman Hour of Adventure, apparently. And that had lots of DC stuff in there. Atom, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Justice League of America. And this was 67-68, apparently, on CBS. So, obviously all American stuff. So various ones there. So in the 1970s then, we get into sort of the ones that I remember more so. And the Star Trek The Animated Series, they did. There's Shazam. They did a series called The Ghostbusters. So way before the actual film. But interestingly, this says it was live action. I've only ever seen a cartoon version of it. But apparently it was live action as well. So there you go. Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, even. I think these are all the animated... Well, no, not animated shows. So Space Academy came 77-79. Space Sentinels was 77-78. So you can see the overlap in sound effects. Really good sound effects as well. The weapons sound really meaty. It's great stuff. Tarzan and the Super 7 was a sort of a collection show. And that was the one that featured Jason of Star Command, which apparently got dropped along the way. So that probably didn't run for as long as Space Academy did, perhaps. Freedom Force rings a vague bell with me, but I can't picture it. New Adventures of Mighty Mouse. I remember Mighty Mouse from my childhood. New Adventures of Flash Gordon. Then in the 80s, they kept going. And this made me laugh as well, because I'd forgotten this, but Sport Billy. Do you remember Sport Billy? I think I've got a video of Sport Billy up. Used to time travel to different sporting eras in a sort of yellow time travelling machine that could be a submarine and stuff as well, I think. Had a sort of magic bag. Don't know if you remember, ringing bells? No? Pretty obscure even for me, that one, but I laughed when I saw it on this list. And then we get down to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and She-Ra, Princess of Power, which were mid-80s. And then also, interestingly, their Ghostbusters show, which was 86-88, and that says based on their live-action show, so one preceded the other. They also did BraveStarr, though, and that was the last animated series they produced, and BraveStarr to this day is one of my most popular intros on my channel, because a lot of people remember BraveStarr, Strength of the Bear, Speed of the Puma, all that good stuff. So, really fascinating collection of shows that they did, and a lot of which crossed the Atlantic, clearly, because I remember a lot of those shows, one way or another. They also did some film offshoots of it, of them all, various specials as well. So yeah, it was just really interesting because I hadn't anticipated going down in that direction at all, because I completely forgotten about that there was a sort of JMS link, and the last thing I expected to find was a documentary about Filmation on YouTube that had a very young JMS in it, and I think he is quite young because he's got no facial hair, he's clean shaven, so he can't be that old. So yeah, it was just a fun little diversion this afternoon. And so obviously this is a sort of leading question is what's the earliest science fiction show that you remember that kind of sparked your interest in TV science fiction? I think for me it has to be, it may well have been things like Jason of Star Command and the various cartoons, Battle of the Planets maybe, but live action, probably Jason of Star Command, probably repeats of Star Trek the original series and Battlestar Galactica, which I think I probably just missed their first runs because I would have been too little at that point. But obviously they used to get repeated a lot on BBC Two, 6 o'clock slot as I recall. Sort of midweeks. Buck Rogers, I also used to watch a lot of, and Buck Rogers is quite a young memory for me as well, actually. It's probably aged horribly. But the spaceships in that, again, totally had me hooked. Buck Rogers Starfighter and stuff, So we very interested in your early memories as well, if you'd care to share. And do have a look around the channel, because there are various cartoon intros that might spark some memories for you. So I'll leave you there. Cheers for now.